as they like. Keep it. If you don't want to use Beacon, well, fine, you don't use it. If you do go on to the full proper Beacon, you can still keep on the Demoton, because it's then very useful for training people in the future, or just learning how it works. Right. So whoops. So, whoops. So can you all see the one that slide?
Yeah, yeah.
Whoops, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. So some of this first bit, this could be a long session, and there's a lot of you, so I might zip through some of this. So why Beacon? As I said, shots of the website, how Beacon helps you with data protection. And I'm presuming I had to do this on the Isle of Wight once, and I started talking, on the Isle of Man. And I started talking about tax. And immediately they all jumped up and said, no, we don't do tax like in England. So if there are any data protection laws or anything like that that come up that don't apply to you, then let me know straight away. But data protection, I was going to say that's a European Union thing, so we'll just gloss over that. But data protection generally is a very important aspect of this, and how we help you go through the whole process. So I can't cover everything single thing Beacon does, it would take too long, but it should give you a good idea of what it does. So at the moment, what are we all trying to do? This is a quick, somebody made this up years ago. They were trying to show everything that people in U3As do in terms of the membership groups, finance, running clubs, looking after people who run clubs, putting on events, all sorts of things. And the idea of this is that think of all the jobs you do, and at this moment, think of how long it takes you to do them, because that's quite an important thing. How long does it take? Sometimes, how long do you sit down and you're typing away and you're getting bits of paper and you're looking them up? How long? Is the information you need? Sorry, I'm hiding bits of my own slides here, so I'm going to have to move you all a bit. Oh, that's a problem. Because I can't see the chat now. Shane, you might just have to put your hand up and call me or something if somebody's got a question, because I need to limit what's on my screen, because I've got two running. Is the information that you want ready to hand? I mean, if you want somebody's phone number, how long does it take you to actually find it? If you then find it's the wrong phone number, how long does it then take you to find the right phone number? Put that down there. Ah, sorry, right, I've got a better way of laying it out. That's it. How easily can you get hold of? And can anyone else do your job? One of the things that we found that we all do as human beings, if you like, somebody gives us a job and we design it in a way that's comfortable for us. So we might have a system that works perfectly well that somebody else has dreamt up. We take it over and we automatically think, oh, I can do it better than this. And we start redesigning a system that worked perfectly well in the first place, which Beacon stops you doing. Now, how are you trying to do all of this? You may be using, folders. I'm putting these up because these are ways that I've come across people that work perfectly well. Ring binders. Our first secretary still has a wall full of ring binders. And I know she can, if I said to her, who paid what in 2007, was so-and-so a member, she'd go and she'd be able to tell me. But it's totally illegal now to have all that stuff on her wall. Laptops. Fantastic. Is your laptop itself passworded? And are any files you have on there passworded? So you should have that double passwording. Home computers, same sort of thing. So the main consideration, where's all your information kept? Is it readily available and widely available to use? I mean, could anybody in your committee who wanted a phone number find it in the next 5 minutes, in the next 2 minutes? Are your roles easy to hand over? That's always an issue. And does everything you do comply with GDPR? There are 8 sort of sections to GDPR, which Beacon does cover. So what if there was one simple way? This is the sales pitch, if you like this bit. What if there's one simple way to do all of this that was easy to learn, and it requires no IT skills? The first thing we get when we offer a website to a lot of people is they say, we don't do computers, John. We don't do it. Or I don't do computers. I'm not doing this job online. And sometimes people get a bit upset about it. And all of this helps you comply with GDPR, and it's easy to pass on. So think of it, I mean, the job that comes to mind there mainly is treasurers, because treasurers do create their own spreadsheets. The next treasurer comes along, and I'm presuming some of you are treasurers, and I'm saying this, you know, most treasurers will look at the last treasurer's spreadsheets and redesign them, because you say, I can do it. I want to do it differently. I can see 1 or 2 of you smiling. I'm going to do it differently. I can do it better. Or I have learned a different way or something, but they change it. So Beacon does all of this for you. There's all that lot down the left there. And this is what it does. It provides a single, safe, and secure place that is easily accessible to store everything. And what are the benefits of it? Well, the first one is, I've just mentioned it, there are no IT skills, no technical skills. I mean, if you do spreadsheets and if you're a treasurer who's going to do spreadsheets, you need to know how to put formulae in. And you need to know how to put those formulae in properly, otherwise they will miscalculate your figures. Beacon has it already there. You just put the figures in, all the calculations are done for you. It's always available. I mean, you think, if you want some information, have you got to ring somebody up to get hold of it? They've gone shopping or they're on holiday. How quickly can you actually get the information you need? Because Beacon's online on a website, it is instantly available. It's readily there. And I've put in, and only available to authorized users. You can specify which parts of Beacon can be seen by different people. And I'll show you, I'll demonstrate that when we get to it. It's secure. It's as secure as anything we can make. It's backed up daily, professionally, and put in 2 separate physical locations on 2 separate servers. So the chances of it being lost, all the data being lost, are, you know, next to nil. There's no duplication of data. I mean, if somebody changes their phone number, how long does it take to get round all the committee? So at some point, you're going to have a person possibly with 2 addresses, 2 phone numbers, 2 email addresses, whatever. Once the person who's been given that update puts it in, it is there, ready, available to everybody. So you have that instant updating. It is simple. It was designed to be simple. Especially the finance section, if anybody wants to use that, because it was designed for people who are not accountants. It reduces your workload. If any of you do the Third Age Matters returns, before we had Beacon, it used to take me about an hour to do it. Now it takes about probably about 5 seconds. It takes about 3 or 4 mouse clicks and the file is done because it does it for you. Easy continuity when officers change. If you want to, it's always a good idea to have a second person. You're always considering the falling under the bus thing, and we're all getting older. When officers change, there is a standard way to run these things. There are websites of instructions on how to do everything. A lot of it is read a line, make a choice, click a button. It was created to be simple, but it will change the way you work. It's gonna, if you're used to doing it all on. I met a guy who ran his U3A on a card index that was about 3 or 4 feet long. Well, I say 3 or 4. He had 3 or 4 card indexes, massive things, and he still has them, and he won't use this at all. But if I said to him, how many spaces have you got in your French group then? And he'd say, give me a minute, and he'd go away and And I said, well, I already know how many there are because I've just gone 1, 2, and I've got the answer. So it speeds things up. What would happen if you dropped your card index on the floor? How long would it take you to put it all back in place? There are practical things. So what is it? It's a website management system. It's a membership management system. You will need a computer and internet access. That's, taken. What else will you need? You will need one person to manage the site. You need an administrator. This person is you have to have somebody to see all of it. They have access to every part of it, and they administer and manage the individual access for different users. Not as they feel like, but with the agreement of the committee. So if somebody says, I want access to this, what should happen then is that they should make a case to the committee. And if the committee thinks, well, I don't know, maybe not, then they don't get it. Or if they do think, yes, that's a good idea, then the administrator gives them that permission. In time, hopefully that administrator becomes the trainer, the guide, the teacher for all the other people. So what is it and where is it? It's a website. What you see is you get these 3 things. The top one is a drop-down list of every U3A that's on it. At the moment, we're on something like 450 plus out of, I'm never sure how many U3As, it's something like 1,000 and something U3As. You put your username and your password in and you're in. Whoops. What the administrator sees is all of this. Now, if you were, I will show you, if you were any other officer, you don't see all of this. Only the administrator sees all of it. So you can see quickly there are 5 sections: the membership groups, finance, miscellaneous, and setup. The setup is used hardly ever because once it's set up, you don't need to do any more with it. In terms of permission, the administrator can see this, and there are actually, I think it's 141 radio tick boxes. So you can give permission, for example, if you look down here at the email messages, you could give permission to view email messages, and create them and change them even, but not delete them. I mean, as a basic thing, I take off all the deletes because the last thing you want, it's useful sometimes, but it's a lot safer if somebody wants something deleted that they make a case for it, go to the administrator, say, can you delete it? Because otherwise, once they've deleted it, it's gone, like anything. Let's just bring it in a bit closer. These can be changed at any time by the administrator with the thing we found when we did our first treasurer's access, we didn't give him access to all the members' names and addresses, because we thought, why does he need it? He's just handling money. And then a month or two later, he came back and said, well, look, I really do need to see everybody's names and addresses and check that if it's paid here, it's recorded there. So he went to the committee. Committee said, yes, okay, that's fair enough. So we did it. It takes seconds to get on for the administrator. Get on, click, save it, and the change comes up. So there's what the membership secretary might see. Obviously, nothing to do with the groups, nothing to do with finance. Miscellaneous only needs personal preferences, which is where you can change your own password if you want to. And can set up membership classes. These are the different things like individual groups, no, sorry, not groups, individual joint members from another, associate members from another U3A. Every member then goes on to a long list, like a giant telephone book. But if you click on each one of these, anything that's blue is a link to something else. You can open up that person's individual record card. Membership needs to be for all members from the same date. Some U3As do monthly membership and they do a year from whenever that person joins, which means 12 months of the year you're chasing membership members. Beacon does it all from the same day. They're given a number for life. Some U3As give a new number every year. Beacon doesn't do that. Once you have your number, you've got it for life. You can't reuse numbers if somebody leaves because Beacon just ticks on. It can't do rolling membership numbers. That's issuing new numbers every year. This is the top 2/3 of the membership card. Some of these things that's okay. Some of these things in Beacon, when we get to Beacon 2 in 6 months or so, will slightly change. The layout will be slightly different, but the information will be basically the same. But it does record a lot. So up the top here, it says what it lets. So instantly you can see, has this person paid? Yes, they're a current member. Because if they hadn't paid, that shouldn't be there. You can tell if they pay gift aid. You've got their mobiles, their emails, whatever, their addresses down the bottom. This little bit down the bottom here is very useful. Some of these things were put in by the man who created this program in the first place because he thought it would be useful to him. If you click on map, it goes to an outside map, but it will then show you exactly where a person lives if you need to know that. Joint members are linked. So the fact that you can link, Beacon works on addresses, not surnames, if it needs to put people together. This is the bottom third of that card. So you can tell straight away, you can tell what groups they're in, you can tell whether they've paid. Everything should be on there that you might need to know. In terms of data protection, this has been added. Hide contact details from group leaders. This is not used very often. In fact, I can only, in 4 or 5 years, I only know about, I think, 2, possibly 3 instances. But it arose from somebody saying, well, I want to join U3A. I do not want my contact details anywhere where anybody else might see them. Somebody from an abusive relationship, somebody for whatever reasons of their own, and they are perfectly entitled to say this, I don't want my membership, I don't want my contact details out there. That then is down to you to manage. You might have a kind of contact buddy that you contact this person through a friend. They might agree that only the membership secretary or only their group leader has their mobile number or something. It can be managed, but it's a local sort of management. If they don't want their details recorded, when we go into Beacon, Beacon wants something. So I just I put like one, no street, no town, no, and I make up a rubbish postcode, which Beacon doesn't check that. It just accepts whatever we put in, which comes to the fact that if you send your data in, it has to be correct because I can't check it. You can pull data out of Beacon very easily. That off this page, if you watch it up the top there, you can see it's got Third Age Matters with the button ticked, and down here you can see what it does is it puts everybody together on their address. So only one copy of Third Age Matters goes to that address. Some U3As don't charge for Third Age Matters unless somebody asks for it, and then they have a membership system that lets people choose that they want 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 copies of Third Age Matters. That is unbelievably complicated, and you've then immediately got like 6 memberships just around Third Age Matters. Most U3As just say we're charged for Third Age Matters. If they don't want it, they don't get it, and that's their choice. You can it will do labels. You can drop if you want to search the data. You can't search in Beacon 1 very well. In one place you can, but generally not. But you can pull out things into Excel if you want to sort them into towns, postcodes, whatever. That's up to you. The polls I will come back to in a minute, but this is the Third Age Matters return. So all you do is Third Age Matters, you use the poll to pull out the people who don't want it. Down the bottom, save it, and the Third Age Matters return is done. It's about 4 mouse clicks. It does do labels, not brilliantly, I must admit. There are a number of reasons in Beacon 1 why we're creating Beacon 2. It does them onto sticky labels of a set size, which you then have to stick onto card or whatever. If you have a good enough printer, you can run them through on card, but then you've got to cut them up. Some U3As have quite a clever way of putting this through a mail merge, through a publisher, and then they print, and then through a card printer, a bank card printer, and do plastic membership cards. That's we don't take a view on. If people can do that, that's fantastic, but we leave that to them because everybody does it differently. Email is one of the very good things about it. You can see if you do home email, you would turn your email program on and choose who you want to send it to. Beacon, you have to choose who you want to send it to first, and then say, right, go to email. Now, this, you can see here, it's got all the addresses of the people to send it to. It's not technically BCC'd, but it sends them one at a time. So again, for GDPR, nobody sees anybody else's email address. One thing it doesn't do is save a copy of the email. So that's why this was added, that you send yourself a copy, or whoever is sending it sends themselves a copy. That will be in Beacon 2, that it will be a proper email program. You can save standard messages. This is brilliant. You might have a message you want to send to everybody once a year. You save it. Next year, you bring it back up again, send it out again. The same process does letters for people who are not on email. You would see the same thing as this, but instead of sending emails, it will let you print out however many copies of letters you want. On the right, this bit is brilliant. This is mail merge, the simplest mail merge I've ever seen. But if you want to personalize all the email, you can put dear # forename and it will pick out everybody's forename from the group list. You could do, for data protection, you could do a data check. Part of data protection is people have the right to know what data you're holding on them, and that it's correct, and to change it if it's now out of date, and to delete it if they don't want you to have it anymore. With that mail merge, you can put in dear hash forename. The data we hold on you is hash title, hash forename, hash surname, hash fam, hash membership number, list the lot, and send it to them. They then have to, it's down to them to check whether it's right and let you know. But it is, that mail merge is brilliant. There's another, oh, it doesn't, the downside of this mail is, one is you have to send yourself a copy. The other thing is it's, when he made this a couple of years ago, he got a very basic email program, which only does text. You can put web links into it, but if you can't put graphics into it or anything like that. So you can't write a newsletter in it, but you can write a newsletter in Word or whatever else you want to use and send it as an attachment. That's perfectly fine. Right, now then, treasurers. Beacon comes in those sections. You don't have to use all of them. You can simply use the membership one. You can use membership groups and leave it at that. Lots of U3As look at the finance. Lots of treasurers look at the finance and say, this is so childish, it's untrue. That's because it was written deliberately to be as simple as it could possibly be, because you don't always have a trained accountant you can pull in to be your treasurer. A lot of people knock it because it is so simple, but my answer to that is you are running a small local charity. You're not trying to run ESSO. You're not trying to run some, enormous international company. It needs to be simple, and it is. You can see that what you're able to do, you have a basic in and out, and what you're able to do is categorize payments. So you could say, and these are all in your own choice, which I'll get onto that page. But this is what you would see if you were the treasurer. It tells you whether somebody is a new member or whether it's membership is a repaid member. You can see down the bottom here, it's got raffle prizes, test transfers. On this next page, every transaction has a record, an individual record page, which you can go back to and edit whenever you need to. So you can say whether it's money in or out, who it's from, the amount. It's a very useful little page because if you enter £10 up here, it knows the total's got to be £10. So if you break down the figures in the categories and they don't add up to £10, it won't let you off the page until your maths is right. So it helps you, another way of helping you get the figures right. These categories you make up entirely of your own choice. And you can have as many of them as you like, whatever works for you. What that allows you to do in another part is if somebody says, how much have we spent on room hire this year? Then you can go to the categories, click on room hire, and it will tell you instantly how much you've spent on room hire. How much have we spent on postage? How much have we spent on petrol? How much have we had in from donations? All those questions can be answered straight away. And there's quite a bit of information around each transaction that you can put in. If you make a mistake, it's quite easy. All you do is go back to it and update it. Sorry, I just got my second cup of coffee given in. Right. So the finance it's basic in and out. Most U3As don't enter their financial data because they usually don't want to. Usually the treasurers say, I would like to run my own system alongside it until I'm sure it works. And then we did that ourselves. Our treasurer said, well, I've never seen it before. Even after we'd shown him how it worked, he said, well, look, I'll run mine and I'll run the two of them alongside each other. We'll see how it goes. After about a month, he said, well, it works. You know, it's a lot easier than my system. But you can add your financial data at any point later. Or what we recommend is that you start from scratch. You wrap your finances up outside, have a carryover into Beacon, and start again. We do ask you to set we need to know your financial year, your membership year, because Beacon works like a clock. It starts on your dates, works its way through the year, and at certain points in the year, it will do things that you said. Like if your membership, let's say you do January to December. In December, most people will say, well, look, if you pay now, you get next year's membership, which most people do. So Beacon needs to know that in December, any money that comes in December is not this year's money, it's next year's. So you can set a grace period before and after to cover all those out of time payments. Groups can have their own individual ledgers, which is very useful because the general advice from the Third Age Trust now is that if you're doing 50p for coffee and stuff like that, you know, nobody wants to know about that. That's entirely down to you. But if you have, say you have an art group and you hire a hall, and there's an extra payments, or you run a language class and you say, right, okay, everybody, give me 10 quid and we'll go and buy a new book. Once you get past the 50p for coffee sort of payments, it is recommended that you really ought to make a note of that somewhere. Now, some treasurers will say, give me a piece of paper at the end of the year with what you've had in from your members and what you've spent and any money you've got left. And I'm happy with that. Some will say, I'd like it in a bit more detail. The in and out ledger for the groups in Beacon is as simple as it can get, And I will show it to you later. You create whatever accounts you want. Payments can be assigned to members. Any categories you create, that's entirely up to you. This could be a lifesaver. It does the gift aid declaration for you. You only have to press about 2 buttons and it gives you the, it does end of year statements. It's very easy to audit because if you think of that page of permissions that I showed you, you give your auditor permission to view and view only all your treasurer's accounts, and they can look at that, they can see whether it works, whether the figures work, and then say, right, fine, I'll sign it off. Right, group leader. So you can have a very short, small page for a group leader. Ignore these bits at the bottom here, the bottom 2 lines, because I have special access to all these things, so they're for me. But the group leader, you can see there that's all they're allowed to see, because data protection says you should only see what you need to see to do your job. But there's a record page for each group. There is a register for each group or a group list. You can change whether you're group leader or not. This kind of thing is very useful if you're going out say you've got a walking group and your walking group turns up and you've got 40 people there and you head off into the hills and one of them faints or has a heart attack or there's a car crash, goodness knows what, and you have to contact a lot of people very quickly. From Beacon, you can have a list, and you can add with their emergency contact numbers, that sort of things. You can pull that out very quickly. You might see that these people here are all in red, whereas before they were all in blue. That's because this is one of the Demerton websites. This is the sort of thing you would have access to. This was created more than a year ago. So we haven't gone through updating all the payments. When the payment time runs out and they haven't paid, all their names go red. So you can look at the list and immediately say, all these people in blue have paid. Oh, I've got 3 in red, they haven't paid. So you can then pull them out to email them as you wish, or ring them, or mail them. These polls, I love polls. Polls are brilliant because they allow you to pick out groups, pick out any group you like. There is only one rule about polls, and the answer must be yes or no. So you could say, you could have a poll of people who don't want Third Age Matters. And quite a few people don't want to, they get it, look at it, and they think, oh, great, and it goes in the bin. If they do that with it, then really they should say they don't want it. So you could have a group of committee members. So when you create a poll in the poll section, no TAM, for example, would appear on every member's record card. As they say to you, I don't want Third Age Matters, you tick no TAM. When you do a poll of who wants TAM, it takes out all the people who don't want it. So you're only left with the people who do want it, which becomes your file for going back to the trust. Same with committee members. Every person will have committee member as a poll on their card, but only the admin can actually update it or not. So people can't go ticking things that are nothing to do with them. So you can pull out the committee members very quickly, email into the email program. You could do the same with group leaders. You could have a poll of group leaders if you wanted to email, contact all your group leaders. Rugs groups, people either immediately go, oh yes, or have no idea what rugs groups are. Rugs are really useful groups. These are the amazing people who make the tea, man the car park, put the chairs out, put the tables away at the end of a meeting, all those irregular jobs. But there are fantastic people who will say, just give me a call when you need me. So to have a list of all those people, I know some people just have one big rugs group and somebody picks out the people they want for making the tea. Other people have rugs tea, rugs car park, rugs chairs. That's entirely up to the person managing it. People who want email newsletter or not. The thing with the polls is you create them. You can have as many as you want, and when you don't want them, you simply delete them. I know some people have things like can drive a minibus. I was a teacher for a long time, and I had a lot of us had what I don't know what, if I presume it might be the same over there, what are called D1 bus driving licenses, so that we could drive the school minibuses, which was terrific. If you want to take a group out, that somebody has that extra license. Now, anything special to do, that if you decide to adopt Beacon, I mean, this is the sort of what you have to do to get into it at all. You have to sign a Beacon site license form, because the trust has the property rights for the program, and we have to assign them to you. And for us to do that, your treasurer, sorry, not your treasurer, your chair has to sign it's an online form. You just put your name in. This is online. It allows us to give you access to the software. This has kind of smoothed itself out. It's not quite as phased as this now, but basically there's the engagement phase where you think about, do we want to do this? This helps us. We have a recording system. This helps us see you through it. When we give you, you say yes. Give me a copy of Demeton, and we'll explore it. So we can, each U3A can have its own copy, and you can do it whatever you like with it. This supports the setup. We support you setting it up and initially getting it going. And whoever supports you, we have a team of about 45, 50 supporters. And it used to matter where they lived, that it was a sort of local thing, but now, and with Zoom, it's a lot easier, doing it. It doesn't matter where they live now. But somebody there that you can talk to, you can phone up, you can email and say, look, I want to do this, but this, I can't quite see how it works. And they can do this sort of thing, Zoom with you, get onto your website with you and show you how it works. So they give you all the support you need. There's a migration team. There's 5 of us. And what we do is, if you decide, say, right, I want to go onto Beacon, we then give you an empty spreadsheet that has been specially constructed. And we ask you to copy all your data into it. Now, if you've got somebody who can do that, and a lot of it, if all your stuff is in Excel, then you can copy and paste it. It's that simple. If it's in Access or it's on paper, then somebody may have to do a bit more. But basically, almost anything that you've got, that can be got into this spreadsheet. We then run a data checker over it because we have to make sure it's in the right format. There are limits on things like people's title. You can only have 5 characters in people's title. So you can't have doctor, you can only have dr and things like that. But you get all the instructions as well to do this. It's quite obvious, really. We check your data, and then if we might need a bit of a back and forth about weird postcodes, or we never see our own typos. People put the letter O into phone numbers quite a lot, and Beacon will not accept a letter O in a phone number. It has to be a 0, things like that. And then there's an ongoing help team. We now partly the person who supported you, and also we have a thing called Zendesk where which has masses of questions, answers ready for your questions, and people that you can raise tickets with. So we can give you a demo. We can provide you a supporter. The supporter can advise you on, well, it's pretty well what I'm doing now. Provide you with a local version of Demeton to use. We provide you with this template for your data, and give you a visual judgment. That's this data checker program we have. And then, if you can't do it, we can do it for you. You just send us whatever you've got, and we'll sort it out for you. And then as I said, we software check your data. Our migration team guide you through the data preparation, convert it for you if necessary, and then we create your website. At that point, we don't just leave you to it, because we have you get detailed paperwork on how to set it up. Your supporter will still be available. We have a standard at least 3 months that you should be able to give them a call and ask any questions you like. There is a Beacon forum via a website. It's not the most useful thing in the world, I will be honest. Sometimes it's just there for people to complain. and say, why doesn't Beacon do this? Why doesn't Beacon do that? Or I can't do this, which is usually they can't do it. Beacon can do it, but they can't. Access to the back to the mic. Whoever did your migration, if there's a technical problem, then you can get back to us and we can sort it out. Some things like very few technical problems. It's something. Might be called. I mean, there's one here called Ashford Y and District U3A, and the name's too long, so we had to ask them if they could be Ashford and Y U3A rather than District took them over the limit and things like that. It's all jumped into at the same time. On creation of the site, you get loads of help to help you set it up. Your supporter will be available. There's the Beacon website, access back to the migrator, and the ongoing help team. This is the important question that I'm surprised nobody's called out yet. It's usually come up long before now. It costs £1 per member per year. And that depends on your year. If your year starts in January and you join in June, then you pay a pro rata amount until January and then do the full year after that. It's calculated by the trust on March the 31st. The trust has no access to your data. What they do is they ask one of our team, how many paid up members does each U3A have? We just say they've got 150 or 500 or whatever the number is, and the trust then charges you that amount of money. The price will not go up. I'm saying that with my hand on my heart here. The plan is that as more people get involved, the trust cannot make a profit out of this. They equally can't make a loss. So it has to be a sort of no cost project. Once Beacon is running, the more people that use it, we should be able to charge less for access to it, because we can't make a profit. As more U3As use it, the price can come down. Is your data safe? Absolutely. In the planning for any writing or any development of Beacon, security is the first one. It's backed up professionally every day. As I said, it's encrypted. So even if somebody got into it, they'd have a job. I mean, that's almost impossible, but every U3A's data is encrypted. Now then, this would be the end of the first part. There's a lady here on the end of this email that if you're interested and you think we'd like to have a look at Beacon, we'd like a copy of Debitum. There's a lady called Leslie on the other end of that, and she can create a Debitum for you. Right, I'm just going to stop the sharing for a second and get out of this and go to the
chat.
Oops. So I have a
There's one in chat, one question in chat, I think.
right. Right, let me just get back up on the share screen. Is that the right one? Yeah. Sorry, let me get it right. By going on the share screen, I've lost the questions. Let me just stop the share for a second. Right, will Beacon 2 transfer the polls from Beacon 1? The polls, they will be there, but not in exactly the same way. If you think about the sort of updates that we get to software every day, they will be slightly different, but they will still be there. Will Beacon 2 provide better reports for the Charity Commission? I think it will. Yes, I'm saying yes. We're in a lot of development and we have a lot of questions of the software developers, and we're asking them to do these things. That's one of the things that we've asked that it can do. There's no reason why it shouldn't. Right, email problems. The Beacon team, the Beacon leader has worked a lot with the SendGrid that all emails go through to make sure that our emails are not seen as spam, because generally if you send an email that's got no individualized headers to it, it thinks it's spam. So first of all, they're not treated as spam. U3A emails will go. That's not a problem. If for what other reason, I mean, we had a problem with Talk a couple of weeks ago, where they suddenly started getting bounced back. AOL had a problem a while ago. That usually comes back to us very quickly, and we get through to SendGrid, who's sorted out for us. That kind of problem gets dealt with certainly within 24 hours. If you've got a different one where somebody's given you, if an email gets bounced back, on the admin officer has an email unblocker, and only the admin officer has this. Once the email has been checked and the address is found actually to be correct, even though it's been bounced, you put it through the email unblocker, and that kind of forces it to be right. So you can sort that out. In terms of browsers, it's being written. Certainly Beacon 1 works with all the browsers. The one it's not great with is on iPads, because it was written for a PC, and I think when he wrote it, iPads weren't that much in use. There's an odd thing on iPads where if you tell it, you have to tell it to do things twice. Though there is a way around that, but you tell it it's not a public computer. It's a lot easier on a PC or a laptop, much easier. I mean, if I'm in a meeting, I might use my iPad simply to read it, but I don't do anything on it on my iPad. It's much easier on a certainly on a bigger screen anyway. So Safari, the new version of Beacon is being written in a slightly different way, in that you'll be able to use it on your phone. So it's got to be able to be seen landscape and portrait and that sort of thing. We have this will send attachments. That's not a problem. Is there a limit to? No, you can. The limit to the number of emails, there's no limit. I mean, people send 1,500, 2,000 emails at a go. That's not a problem. Do they go into? No, they should go into their inbox. The thing with emails generally is that you are probably all using your personal emails, or you might be. Lots of people, in terms of GDPR, we realized very quickly that our secretary, who was about to retire a few years ago, who'd been doing the job then for like 12 years, had put her personal email, her personal address, and her personal phone number, and her mobile number on literally thousands and thousands of bits of paper, and possibly not a good idea. so in order to protect and be a bit more secure, first of all, we went through anonymous emails where the email went to a site which then sent it on to us. The trouble is, if you reply to that email, it still goes from your personal email back to the person who wrote it. It's it's a lot. I would recommend everybody get a Gmail address or something like that. I have 4 email addresses. One is for Beacon. One is for, like, if you like, family. One is for buying things, if I'm buying things through Amazon or whatever. And I've got another one which is just hung over from years ago. And I try and keep them separate. And I think it's a good idea. Some U3As, in terms of security, have bought their own mobile phone, but then a mobile phone has to have a person and an address it's registered to, which can be a problem. But right, if I show you if I go back to sharing the screen, whoops, where have I gone? Right, when you log in, I've gone on as the administrator so I can try and show you whatever your job is, the sort of things that can happen. So if you're the membership, you have this long, you can scan down it by if you want. You can go to it through the alphabet at the top there, which will take you straight to the H. If you put something like Fred in the top there and search on Fred, it will pull out anything to do with FRED, Fred, Frida, Frederick, and so on. So you can search on postcodes if you want. If you know somebody lives in a particular postcode but you can't remember their address, or the other way around. Adding a new member is very straightforward. You have basically an empty card, and you type all their details in. The bit down the bottom here about membership, if you are a treasurer, what we do with the membership now, it used to be that all monies went into the current account. What we recommend now is that you have almost like a holding account called membership. And the reason for this is that if you get loads of checks in and you have to do a balance, and you've got a pile of checks in your hand, but you've recorded the checks in your current account, then your figures are wrong, because this money is not in the bank. So the membership account is to hold the check payments. Things like cash, standing orders can go straight into the current account, but checks should go into the membership account. They're then held, that figure is held in the membership account until the bank tells you the check is cleared, and then you can move them all into the current account. This is so that the figures are correct at any point in the year. I'll be honest with you, some U3As have said, "You're kidding, I'm not doing that." Others have said that's a brilliant idea because it keeps it absolutely right. That depends on you as a treasurer. But we recommend that check payments certainly go into the membership account and then get moved over when they're cleared. The account by default is set up to go to membership. You can list the payments. Payments can be by any BACS, whatever, PayPal, standing orders. Here you can see it's expecting a certain amount. Actually, if I go back to the page, when you set up, you tell us, sorry, you don't tell us, you tell your website how much your membership is. And you can itemize it for different parts of the year. You might have a low membership fee, like 3/4 of the way through the year, because they're not going to get much. And then in the last month or two, they're paying for next year as well. That's all manageable. But whatever you put in there is reflected in here down the bottom. So it knows at each month of the year how much you should pay. If you put in there a different amount, like somebody says, oh, I've only got £5, can I give you this for the moment? Well, you can either say, no, give me it all next week, or you can say, yes, I'll take that for now. If you put a £5 in there, it'll pop up saying this is not the right amount. If you're expecting 8 and you put 10 in there, it'll say, do you want us to treat the extra as a donation? At which point you can either say yes and think, oh, I've got to pay it back to the person who's overpaid. That's down to you to manage at that point. But up here, if somebody is an associate membership, so for £9, then you click up there, down the bottom, it changes to £9. So there's a lot of cross-referencing. It knows what it wants. Membership renewals, this is very useful. It isn't going to come up very much at the moment because, as I said, the year of this thing, oops, it's been updated. If your membership is January to December, you can tell it, right, 8 weeks before the end of our year, if anybody, this is when we're going to start taking in payments for next year. So in those 8 weeks, at the beginning of those 8 weeks, we can create a complete second list, membership list. And here it is. And what happens on this list, as the treasurer or the membership secretary or whoever takes a payment in, you tick in this, it tells you how much you should be having. You tick in this box to say, yes, they've paid. And that person then, that payment goes into the membership account. And that person comes off this list. So as people pay up, this list gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and in a perfect world disappears. But at the end of January, maybe, you'll see I've got 20 people on here, but these are the 20 you haven't paid. So that information is ready there for you. You can then phone them, email them, whatever you want to do. Oh, sorry, I just saw a car coming into my drive. The recent members, this is very useful. Most U3As have every now and then they say, well, we have recent new members meetings. Who are the new members? Who's got the list of the new members? And somebody has to go, well, when did we have the last one? So you can, using these dates at the top here, well, not many members have joined. I'll have to go back to 2019. Whoops. Right, so there's a list. Whatever dates you put in, there's a list of your new members. Immediately, you have all their contact details. Now I'll show you quickly here what happens when you want to do an email. You see at the top of this column, you have select. You click on select, you can select all clear, all email only, or without email. If you click email only, then you'll obviously email the people who've got email. You can see there are some people here with a little, like a letter with a line through it. These are the people who don't have email. So if you click on them, you can see they're ticked. So you can now send a letter to them. But if I just clear those, I want the email. You look at the bottom here, you can now now have a number of choices, and the choices change slightly depending on what sort of page you're on. But if I now want to send an email, I want to, that black box pops up all the time to help you with what your mouse is over. Sometimes it's very useful. Sometimes it gets really annoying because it covers the thing you're looking at. But you can see in that other one, it says do with selected. So I've selected all those people. That's what I want to do. Okay. So it takes me to the email program. It puts all their addresses in there, and I can now send an email. I can choose a standard message. This one happens to be a renewal notification. So I've got that standard message ready to go. I've got hash title, hash forename, hash surname. I've got other bits in it which will pick out dates or whatever I want. And I can send that email off very quickly. I've picked out the people who haven't paid. I've picked out the email program, and I can send it, less than a minute. The only thing Demerton can't do actually is send emails because they're all fake. If you actually want to try it, you would have to get a few of you to agree to having proper email names in there. So you've then got non-renewals, people who haven't paid up. This is where you can do, you can take all the data out if you want to. If you take data out of Beacon, though, you have to remember you personally are then responsible for the data and for passwording it and for safeguarding it. In the groups, if you want statistics, it'll tell you how many women you've got, how many men you've got, and that sort of thing. I can tell you generally, U3As have 80% women, 20% men. That's just maybe because the women are living longer, they like going out, they're more sociable, they talk more, they have, I don't know, men are stuck in the attic with their railway trains. I have no idea. I'm not knocking people with a railway train in the attic because I've got one. So, but different characteristics, whatever. Now the groups manage. So the person who manages the groups. Some U3As say to their group leaders, if you've got somebody who wants to join your French conversation class, fine, get them in. Somebody has to make sure that that person has actually paid and the money's gone in and they've got their membership card and for insurance purposes and things like that. One of the things that this does brilliantly now is if somebody comes to you and says, I want to join French conversation, have you got any spaces? And the group's coordinator could go on here, go to, I don't know, French history or whatever, and say, the group size is 8, we've got 10 in there, we've got 8 in there at the moment, there's 2 on a waiting list. So I can put you on the waiting list, or fine, do you want to try a different group? So I teach Italian, so I've done an Italian group. But you can see there are some waiting. So you can have a waiting list within the group. I have a ledger. Actually, whoops. We've changed years. If I go back a year or so, you can see the ledger is incredibly simple. You do not need any accounting experience whatsoever for this. So you would have the payee, the detail, why have you done it? Is it going in or is it going out? And that's the end of it. That's all it needs. Save it, and it goes into the list. right? The ledgers are, I'm guessing some of you are accountants. I can only see 3 or 4 of you, so I'm gonna guess some of you are accountants. Beacon does not do accruals, but and if the rest of you are wondering what accruals are when you save up in 1 year to pay for something in the next year. You might be saving for, you know, a group holiday or something like that. So at the end of the first year, you have a fantastic amount of money in your accounts, which is not normal. It's way out of the pattern of accounts, but you have to account for it. And some treasurers have said, well, I'm not using it if it doesn't do accruals. And others have said, well, I'll just make an accrual account. It's not, so you can see here, got accrual holiday. So it is an auditable figure. You can account for that money. And the fact that the next year, the money's gone, that's the thing. These figures of these accounts, again, you make up as you see fit. They're entirely up to you. It does do, where have I gone? Financial statements. We've just changed the year, so this is whoops, no, I'll do it in a PDF, it's easier. So it will give you an end of year account statement. I'm amazed nobody's throwing questions in. This usually at this point. Any money that's going in and out, you simply add a transaction. There's the figure. All the categories are categories you've chosen. There's a very useful thing, which is the audit log. And that this is a record of everybody who goes on to Beacon. So that if at any point something goes terribly wrong, you can go back and say, was that you? Or you can go and find something that you did 6 months ago.
John, there's some questions in chat at the moment.
Yeah, okay, let me just see if I can, I'll have to. This is odd that I should be able to see chat, but because I've got that up, I'll have to drop out of sharing for a second. Right. Right. Paying. I've asked a question about members paying by direct transfer. Yes, members can pay by any system that you allow. So they can do standing orders. They can just do a direct transfer. Yeah, that's fine, not a problem. While we stopped, has anybody got it? Anybody got any other questions at the moment? You're remarkably accepting of everything I'm saying. No, okay, I'll go on a bit. There are public links that you can put in. If you have a website of your own, there are public links that you can put in the future. I would not recommend you do that straight away because usually we recommend that people get into Beacon slowly. That if there's a few of you in each U3A who are interested, that you go through the process, get the Beacon website, get yourselves au fait with it and confident about how it works. You know, like the membership, treasurer, admin, then introduce it to all the committee. who are happy with how it's going. Then we had a meeting for all the group leaders. Not all the group leaders. I mean, lots of group leaders said, "I'm not interested, John. Really, I've got my little group. We meet every week. We're fine. We do our tea and coffee. I really don't need all of that," which is perfectly allowable. You know, you can't force people to use these things. Can you explain what process a member goes through to pay and how Beacon handles it? The Beacon is not directly, this is about payment by direct transfer. That would be that the treasurer would have to keep, because Beacon has no direct link with a bank at all, the treasurer would have to note on the bank accounts that that person has paid. This is a bit of a sort of weak point, because or the person tells you as they're doing it, tells you by email, I am now paying by direct transfer, I'm paying into the bank. That's a bit laborious, excuse me. But Beacon has no direct link with a bank, so it can't acknowledge that anything's been paid into its account. I hope that. Oops. Email delivery, it does record the fact that it sent emails to people. So those are all testing ones. But if you open one, see on that one, I can see the email was opened, and it was opened on a certain date and time. So if people say, you never sent us one, you can say, well, actually I did. And there's the record, you know, you opened it, if you need to. Now, this setup bit on the end, this is more for somebody who would be the admin, because when you get Beacon, it's kind of empty. What we will have done is put all your members in. If you give us the group names, we will have put all the group names in, and any data like days, time, that sort of thing, that's all in there. If you have venues that you use regularly that you want to put in, that's all in there as well. Membership of groups is empty. That would be, you know, if you've got 500 people and they're all in 10 groups, that would be a massive piece of data to try and organize and move. So we don't do that. So when you get Beacon, if you want to record who's in which group, the group's coordinator is the one who might have to sit down and do that. Now, we get to a point where some U3As actually don't know the names of members in their groups. They know there are 25 groups and they do art and Tai Chi and all this sort of thing. But if you said, I know from experience, some U3As have a group's coordinator who knows exactly how many people are in each group, how many spaces there are spare, waiting lists, because all the membership of the groups goes through them. On the grounds that if the group leader just says, yeah, come on, join my group, they may be pulling in people who are taking the place of somebody who's already waiting somewhere else. So there's that way of doing it. Now, that's one U3A I belong to, and this woman is absolutely rigid. They will all go through her. I belong to another U3A in the other direction, and the membership secretary has no idea. She knows there are, whatever it is, 30 groups or something, or 50 groups, but she has no idea how many people are in each group. She has no idea whether there are waiting lists or anything. So, you know, if you say to her, is there room in the French club? She hasn't got a clue. So what she has to do then is she'd say, well, I'll give you the phone number, you can go and call them and you can do this and you can sort that out. And in between those, there are lots of different ways of managing groups. The thing about U3As is they're all different. That's the beauty of U3As in the end. So how you manage that bit of getting the groups. Now, it's actually very easy to put people into groups because if I go back to my Italian class, members, down the bottom here, you can see I can add a member. So I've got there the names of all the people in the U3A, and if I know somebody, I don't know.
You need to share, John, you need to share screen again.
Oh, sorry, I've gone off. Yeah, sorry, whoops. Let me just go back a step. In the groups, well, in any group, if you want to add members to your group, you have to give permission to the group leaders to do this, and some people don't. I can now say into my bridge club, I want Jan to join it, so add, and they're in, along with all their contact details. And I can go through. Now this is brilliant for things like theatre trips. I know we're not doing those at the moment, and we're not doing holidays, and there's all sorts of stuff we're not doing. But if you have somebody who runs theatre trips, there might be 70 or 80 people who at some point in the year will go on a theatre trip. They don't do every one of them. But the theatre tickets, she'll say, right, I've got 30 tickets, first come, first served out of this group. And it might be anybody in the U3A who wants to do that. So she can start a theatre group, pull in people as they paid, use the ledger to record their payments. The treasurer has oversight of group ledgers, so he or she can keep an eye on that as well. So it's all sort of coordinated. And at the end, I mean, the ledger money is not in the ledger money is not in the main account. That has to be separately paid from one into the other. Oh, there's the email unblocker. It's as simple as, if you know this address is correct, you just put it in there and submit it, and that forces the system to accept it. Personal preferences, you can change your password. When you go on, when you first go on, your admin will have created a password for you. These are a complete jumble because they're computer-generated passwords, but you can get in with it, change your password to something sensible, and save that. Now the roles and privileges, so you have a group of system users. These can be members of the committee or group leaders or whoever you give things to. The roles and privileges they have, let's say for the administration, they're all ticked because the admin has to be able to see everything. If you are, say, the chair, now this is an interesting one actually. When a lot of GDPR started, people said, oh, the only person who needs to see finance is the treasurer. That's, he handles all the money. And then people started saying, yeah, but a treasurer can do a lot of damage in a year. If they're not very good at it, if they make mistakes, we could find we're thousands of pounds out by the end of a year. So really, it's the chair's responsibility to have oversight of that. So this one, has this one got it? Oh, where am I? Financial ledger, you might give them more. All these are entirely down to you, as you see fit. Group leaders, far fewer permissions, and it's entirely down to you what they can see. One of the very useful things about having it like this as a website is, if I go away on holiday, I always take my laptop with me anyway, because I have other jobs within the U3A. But if somebody emails me and says, John, I've changed my email address, or I've changed my phone number, I can just change it. Takes a minute less. So I can ensure that the data for everybody else who has access is as up to date as possible. And things don't stop just because I go away. If all your data is kept in a file, a folder on the wall, and you go out for the day, then nobody has access to it. So this is, permanent access to up-to-date data. Faculties, somebody put up a thing about faculties. Faculties are not it sounds grand. Faculties are groups of groups. So you might have a faculty of, what have we got here? Sports and games, a faculty of language classes, a faculty of talking groups, a faculty of walking. They're just groups of groups. They don't actually, they're useful if you want to contact the group leaders of that faculty. If you want to get all the language groups together, you can pull them out. The calendar is another reason why we're updating Beacon to Beacon 2, because this calendar is, I will be quite frank with you, it's awful and it's a waste of time. Because instead of being you can't see me. Instead of being a calendar laid out in 7 days a week, week by week, it's a long list that just goes on and on and on. So if you've got, 100 groups meeting 30 times a year, that's an awful lot of entries that you have to scan down and you can't search it. So the calendar is total dead loss. In terms of longer term, in terms of Beacon 2, the way into Beacon 2 at the moment is through Beacon 1, because what is happening is that the software company we're working with to create Beacon 2 will take Beacon 1 data because it's in a standard format, and it will then move that wholesale into Beacon 2. There is no way at the moment, and it would be very difficult to do, to be able to take all the different ways that all the different U3As keep their data and have one way to put that into Beacon 2. That root way at the moment is provided by us, giving you our standard spreadsheet, you or us or we filling it in, putting it through our data checker into Beacon 1. That is the route into Beacon 2. The other reason for using Beacon 1 actually is, apart from the GDPR and it making your life a lot easier, is that you get used to how it works, and because generally it's the way of working is going to be pretty much the same. It's not going to be exactly the same. It's an update. It's going to improve. But the way in is through Beacon 1. It's probably, if you went on Beacon 1, where are we, Jen? I don't know what it's like for you. I really have to work at remembering what day it is. Let's get back out of that for a second. We can go back into that if there's anything you need to out of it. Yes, the way into Beacon 2 is through Beacon 1, and you get used to using it, and it will make your lives so much easier. Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Can I just ask, what access do ordinary members have? Do they have access to their own details, or do they have access to a bit more than that, or do they not have access at all? Apologies if you've already said it.
No, it's okay. No, you can give people access to their own data, but I would not recommend it from the start. I would recommend that a few of you get used to using Beacon. Extend it to the committee, extend it to your group leaders. If you think of Beacon One as a tool for you to manage your local U3A as easily and as efficiently as possible, that's the best way to look at it. You could in the future, and you will be able to a lot more easily in Beacon 2, give people access to their own data to make sure they update it, that if they change their mobile number, it's their responsibility to get in and change it. At the moment, that's a bit complicated. They need 5 pieces of data to get into their own data. I only need 3 pieces of data to get in my bank, so, and we're asking what are generally elderly people to have 5 pieces of data to get in to change a phone number. It's a lot easier if they do it through the membership secretary, to be honest.
But it's no way is it, as well as all the organisation that's going on, there's no way of, that members can look to see what's happening, what's new, what's, like a sort of advertising.
That's well, lots of U3As use the Site Builder website that the U3A, the Third Age Trust provides. At the moment, the problem with that is that Beacon 1 and the Site Builder website are completely separate. Beacon 2 will have its own internal website, which you can use if you want to, and it will do all those things. Beacon 2 will do things like let you choose an event that you want to go to from your advertising, put your name down and pay for it, which Beacon 1 can't do at all. Mm-hmm. We're trying to get Beacon 2 to be as useful, as easily useful as possible, but it's a job in progress at the moment.
And have you any